getting ready for the bottom of the first here in Bend between the Harbor Cats and the Elks. We are still scoreless here as TYl Thomas on the mound for the Victoria Harbor Cats. He was the starter for Baylor last year. He was, in fact, their number 2 starter. As a freshman, he threw to a 3.38 ERA in 53 innings of work, 59 strikeouts, but 55 walks for him during that span. He had a bit of a control issue. And here's a lineup that he will face coming from the Elks. It'll be Tristan Alvarez at shortstop. He's batting leadoff with Jake Singer, the DH, following him. This is the highest in the order we've seen Singer as he's batting second. Jake Holton moves from first over to third base, where he played a little bit with Santa Barbara City College, and he is batting third. But Arbach behind the dish as the number 4 hitter, Ty Holmstrom following him. Holmstrom with a great series offensively and defensively in Walla Walla. He'll be over at first base. John Arndorfer back in the lineup. He's in right field after that. It'll be Jared Siemens back at second base for his 3rd game in a row. Blake Mann, the number 8 hitter, making his debut in center field, and Khalid Johnson in left field to round things out for the Elks. So Alvarez, the righty, will come up first against this lefty. As Alvarez has hit 281, he's been very consistent this year. He's not been too high, not been too low. He's just been the consistent bat the Elks have needed to top their lineup, as he is near the top 10 in just about every offensive category here in the West Coast League. In fact, he's in the top 10 in most of those categories, as here comes the first offering from the lefty. Fired in there for strike 1, no balls, and 1 strike to Alvarez. Alvarez shifting over to his natural position of shortstop. He's been spending most of the season as a second baseman, as here comes the 0-1. A high line drive out towards left field. It's going back, and it is off the wall as Alvarez rounds first base into the corner. He'll come into second base easily with a leadoff double on the very first pitch he sees in this ballgame.
Yeah, great piece of hitting from Tristan Alvarez. We've seen that many times from him this season. His 8th extra base hit so far this year as a Bend Elk. And you see why he's right at the top of the lineup. That's the production that the Elks need. And they want that to come to the plate as much as possible. And so Alvarez getting things started, and that'll provide some scoring chances for the next couple batters in this lineup.
Yeah, here's Jake Singer, who's been swinging the bat pretty well. He's up to 273 with the batting average. Looking back, Thomas fires in, and that ball is line fouled on the first base line, but man, that was pretty close to being another double. As Alvarez just jumping all over that fastball that he saw, and he drilled it pretty high. It looked like it had a chance to leave the yard, but just a little bit short. I'm sure he'll take the double instead, as he is now tied for the team lead in doubles with 4 alongside John Arndorfer. Thomas comes set. The lefty looks back to second base. Looks back again and fires the 0-1. That's in there for a strike. So Thomas is coming in and firing nothing but strikes so far. He's been staying in the strike zone, and now Singer is down in the count 0-2 as a result.
His pitches have been painting the corners, really. He's not been putting things in too much of the strike zone. Alvarez, the ball that he laced into the corner was really on the inside corner of the plate. And then we've seen a lot of outside corner pitches as well from TYl Thomas.
The Baylor lefty comes set, now comes in with the offering, and it's called strike 3 to Singer on the low and inside corner with a fastball. 3 straight strikes to Singer, and he is the first out here in a scoreless ball game in the first. Got his first home run for the Elks in that last series against Walla Walla. Holton hitting under 200 though on the summer, so he's looking to get the old batting average up. But given how long he's been playing here, it wouldn't take much of a hot streak to get his average back up there. He'll be going to Creighton this next year. He's also been key in the back of the bullpen for the Elks. He came in and fired a scoreless inning last night. Another right-handed batter against this lefty pitcher. The Elks stacking the lineup full of righties in this one. With a runner on second base, the Elks have a chance to drive in the first run of the game. Thomas looks back to second base. Looks back again. And now here it comes with the first offering. It bounces past the catcher as Alvarez will waltz into third base on the wild pitch. Just got between the legs of Jaco, who's behind the dish for Victoria. Now Alvarez is 90 feet away from scoring the first run.
That goes back to some of the control issues you were talking about with TYl Thomas, throwing a lot of walks for Baylor this past season. He's also walked plenty of guys for Victoria this year. Take that back. This is his first outing for Victoria.
Ground ball toward the left side, and it's to the third baseman, so they hold the runner at third and throw across the first base, gets Holton. There's now 2 away as Alvarez stays at third base. That one hit directly at Clayton at third base. Nothing he could do about that. Smith over at first base for the Harbor Cats in this one. Imwali at second. Spahn is the shortstop today for the Harbor Cats, and Clayton over at third. Left to right in the outfield for Victoria, it's Playa, Malinchak, and Jed Fagg. And here's Brett Arbach batting again from the right-handed batter's box against this pitcher. Here he comes home with the offering. Thomas gets called strike one to Arbach. And we mentioned his control issues in college this year, but hasn't prevented him from throwing strikes immediately to every Elks batter he's faced so far. Stayed a little bit too much in the zone against Alvarez on that double, but other than that, he's been effective as that one bounces inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Arbach also, he got a little bit of a hot streak going in Walla Walla. His batting average up to 267. Took him a little bit to get that first hit as an Elk, but once he did, he's been swinging the bat pretty well. He'll be a junior at Alabama this next year. The 1-1 to the catcher is upstairs for ball 2. And the count is now 2-1. And I'm sure the Elks would love nothing more than to get some runs on the board here early on, as Bend is mostly given up runs in the first 4 innings. So if the Elks can match that, at least they'll have a chance to get on the win column. Here comes the 2-1. Upstairs, 3 balls and 1 strike. But as we mentioned before, once the Elks get past the 4th inning, for the most part, the runs tend to slow down a little bit. But in last night's game and the one before that, a rare case where the bullpen gave up a number of runs later in the contest. The Elks losing last night 12-6. That 3-1 is called strike 2. Arbach was about to toss his bat aside as he thought that was ball 4. A little bit outside the black, but they said that was on the corner, and the count is now 3 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs and a runner on third. The Elks here in the bottom of the first, looking to score the first run of the ballgame. Tyler Thomas comes set, and now here comes his payoff pitch. A line drive foul as it gets out of play. Had a lot of pop on that swing, and we'll have to do the 3-2 again. A number of hitters really shining in Walla Walla. Arbach was one of them. Holmstrom also had a good series, as did Holton with that home run. Siemens turning it around. He's got a little bit of hot streak going. And we shouldn't shortchange Michael Workentine either. He's been swinging the bat pretty well, too. As Arbach stares at ball 4, he'll head over to first base. Runners in the corners for 2 away with the Elks. And Ty Holmstrom coming up here. Holmstrom had his first double of the season in that series. He's now hitting .259, slugging .333, and he's driven in 9 runs. He can encroach on the RBI leader here in the Elks, which is Alvarez, who's standing over at third base. Alvarez has 10 RBI on the season. If Holmstrom can knock one in, he'll tie for the team lead. 2 away. Another right-handed batter against this lefty, and the offering comes inside, but it's on the corner for strike 1. Holmstrom from Union College, playing mostly center field for the Elks. He stole a home run, actually, in center in that last series in Walla Walla, but today he's playing over at first base as Thomas gets the sign, kicks and deals. The offering is low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Holmstrom, one of many players on the Elks roster from the state of California. Seems like half the roster is from California. He's from Pasadena. Holmstrom having a conversation with the home plate umpire. 1-1 is the count with a couple on the corners for the Elks. The 1-1. Swung on, fouled straight back in the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes. As Thomas needs just 1 more strike to get out of this jam that he's created for himself in the first inning. We're still scoreless between the Elks and the Harbor Cats here in Game 1 of a 3-game set. The Elks playing tomorrow and the next day against Victoria as well. Both 6:35 start times. Make sure to join us here on Mixlr and our live stream as well. As Thomas looking over to first base. Arbach playing mind games with him at the first base bag, and he tosses the ball well outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. A nice stop by Jaco, who reaches over to his right to keep that from going to the backstop, which would have certainly allowed Alvarez to score from third. Alvarez also leads the team in runs scored as well as RBI. We mentioned a consistent bat for the Elks. He's been just that at the top of the order. Here comes the 2-2. Swung on and missed, and just like that, Thomas gets himself out of the inning and posts a 0 in the bottom of the first. We're going to the top of the second. A couple of zeros under the run column here between these two squads on the Bend Elk Sports Network. It's 3-0 Harbor Cats here in Bend. Game one of this three-game set. Arndorfer, Siemens, and Mann all coming up here to face off against the lefty Tyler Thomas. 3 errors in the top of the second, allowing the Harbor Cats to come in with 3 runs. In fact, the surprising thing is the Elks have not had 3 runs in an inning ever. They've not even had 3 errors in a whole game yet this season, as there's a 2-hopper to shortstop. Clayton gathers it, gets it across the diamond to first base in time, and Arndorfer is the first out of the inning. So things just compounding for the Elks. The most errors that they had in a ball game prior to this was 2. And now Bend looking to swing the bats. As I mentioned before, they've been swinging pretty well, averaging just over 5 runs per game. So they would just have to get their average to get back into this one, but their pitching would have to be stupendous from here on out as well. As here is Jared Siemens, the George Fox second baseman. Looks at a ball outside, 1 ball and no strikes. The control from Thomas has been pretty good so far. He's only walked 1 batter. That was his main issue over at Baylor as their number 2 starter. His 1-0 delivery is a line drive cracked into the left center field gap, and it gets down into the grass. Siemens rounding first base, taking an aggressive turn, but he will stop. A strong throw in from Malinchak will hold him to a single, but Siemens continues his hot hitting. He's up above 200 with the stick right now. He was hitting about 100 prior to that Walla Walla series, and now he's climbed over 100 points in the last 4 games.
Yeah, and there's good reason for that. He's swinging the bat really well. That was a great piece of hitting right into the gap in left center field, and he struck the ball right with the barrel. Solid line drive contact. You can't ask for a better piece of hitting than that.
It's 3-0 Victoria here in the home half of the second. Runner on first for the Elks, and nobody away. And here's Blake Mann making his Elks debut. The outfielder playing center field today stares at a ball upstairs, 1-0. Now, Mann from UCSB, where he was just a freshman. Last year playing in the California Collegiate League, he played for the Ventura Halos. And this last year for UCSB, mostly a defensive replacement for the team. Only hit 200, but didn't have a whole lot of at-bats. So here making a chance to get some more swings in, if he can add some thump to this lineup. The 1-0. That's strike 1, and the count is now a ball and a strike. Especially in the last few games, the Elks have really shown some fight when it comes to the bats, trying to crawl back into ball games in which they fall behind, as they are behind right now. The 1-1 comes inside, almost hits him in the shin, as it's now 2 balls and a strike to him. Siemens standing over at first base with only 1 away. Siemens already has stolen a bag. He stole 6 this last year for George Fox, but not getting too big of a lead over at first base. As the lefty looks over to first and delivers the 2-1. It's high. 3 balls and a strike to Mann. A good favorable count for him here in his first plate appearance in an Elks jersey. The Elks out there in their Arctic camos that they wear on Monday home games. And the Harbor Cats wearing their alternate red jerseys with navy caps. Thomas looks over to first, and the 3-1 delivery is swung on and foul-tipped into the glove of Jaco for strike 2. So that's the first time we've seen Mann take the bat off his shoulder. He had a good swing, but didn't get enough of a piece of it to drive it out there.
The Elks also didn't take batting practice today, except for in the cages. So Mann might be a little more rusty than your average debutant Elk.
As that one is fouled away toward the right side, 3-2. The Elks just trying to do something different right now to see what it would take to get them back in the win column, as they've lost their last 5. Haven't won a series since the very first series of the season when they beat Cowlitz 2 out of 3 games. Here comes that 3-2. That's called strike 3 to Mann on the low and inside corner. He thought that was ball 4, but instead there's now 2 away for Khalid Johnson with a runner on first base. That's the 3rd strikeout of the day for Tyler Thomas.
Yeah, and the second one called. He's been really precise with his location, hitting corners really well. You wouldn't think that he had a command problem this past year in college with the way that he's been hitting his spots today. So, really good stuff from him he's shown so far.
And here's Khalid Johnson batting from the right-handed batter's box. The first pitch to him is a called strike 1. Johnson getting 2 starts in that last series against the Sweets. He got 1 hit, had an RBI single during that series. Looking to get back into the swing of things here. Playing a nice left field out there for the Elks, too. Runner goes in the 0-1, and it's past the backstop, or it's past the catcher to the backstop, as Siemens gets to second base with a stolen bag.
He didn't have the best jump nor the best lead, but since the ball got past, Siemens is there easily. You talked about his base stealing ability, somewhat average for George Fox and for the Elks so far, but you'll take the ones they give you.
Yeah, Jaco popped up before he even had the baseball, and as a result, it sailed past him to the right side. Thomas delivers the 1-1. It's swung on and foul tipped into the glove of Jaco. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So now a chance for the Elks to get on the board as they trail 3-0 in the second. 2 away, and they've got a runner over at second base. Johnson trying to drive him home. He's hitting 133 and looking for his first RBI of the summer. The Elks only have 1 lefty in this lineup, as here comes the 1-2. It's a line drive, a 1-hopper over to second base, and Wally has it. He gets it over to first in time to retire the side. The Elks strand their runner at first base, or make that second base. 1 hit, 1 man left on. No errors and no runs come across the score here in the bottom of the second. We're going to the top of the third. It's the Harbor Cats 3 and the Elks nothing. Home half of the third here at Vince Guenna Stadium. Top of the order coming up for the Elks against this lefty Tyler Thomas, who spun now 2 scoreless innings, getting out of some jams. Both times the Elks have gotten runners into scoring position, but have not been able to score them, as it's 3-0 Victoria. Tristan Alvarez coming up here. He was the first guy to reach scoring position. He had a leadoff double to start things off in this ball game. Here comes the pitch as it bounces in, 1 ball and no strikes. Alvarez raising his average, his slugging percentage as well, which are near the top of the West Coast League. The lefty's 1-0. That's called strike 1. There's only 1 game in which Alvarez has not let off for the Elks, and that was 2 games ago in Walla Walla. The Elks flipping Runge and Alvarez for the 1 game just to try to switch things up a little bit. Here comes that 1-1. Outside, 2 balls and a strike. But Alvarez, who's, as you mentioned before, kind of the model of consistency for the Elks, had a good game in both spots. Lefty winds and fires. That's outside. So a 3-1 count, a good count to Alvarez, the Fresno Pacific senior, who was the Pac West Defensive Player of the Year at shortstop. And here comes the 3-1 to him. That's outside, ball 4. Alvarez will toss over the bat as he reaches first base to start things off here in the third inning, giving the Elks a chance to score a run on the board. They're down by 3. And that's going to bring up Jake Singer, who struck out looking his last time on a pretty close pitch that he thought was ball 4 at the time, and probably was pretty borderline as well. Singer's been doing a nice job since coming over from Notre Dame, reaching base at a 342 clip. Batting from the right-handed batter's box. The offering to him. Line drive foul as it gets out of play, and the count is 0-1 to him. Another guy who's going to be a senior this year in Singer. Seems like the Elks have a lot more upperclassmen than a lot of teams do. A lot of guys who are to-be juniors and to-be seniors, but you see teams like Victoria who've got a lot of guys who are going to be freshmen or going into their sophomore year, like this pitcher here on the mound right now. in TYl Thomas, who just finished up his freshman campaign. He looks over to first, and he'll toss over there where Alvarez gets back standing. Usually here in the West Coast League, you see guys who are incoming sophomores and juniors for the most part, as those are the guys who are trying to raise their draft stock the most. Everyone else was just draft eligible. As Thomas takes a long look over to first base. Here comes his 0-1. No, it's late call time by Singer. The pitch will not count. Incoming freshmen have the chance to be drafted in the summer in which they're playing since they're coming out of high school. And incoming seniors, since they just finished their junior season, have the chance to be drafted as well. So it's only the incoming sophomores and juniors that don't have the chance to be drafted in the summer in which they play summer ball, which allows for a lot of them to come into this league and try to get some extra swings, maybe make some improvements, be seen by scouts, stuff like that. But you do, of course, see freshmen and seniors here and there. Here comes that 0-1. Foul tipped into the glove of the catcher for strike two. A lot of guys also coming into this league because they missed significant portions of their previous seasons, or they're trying to get some more at-bats or more innings pitched so they can become a bigger factor in their college season coming up next. As the 0-2 on the way is upstairs, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And it's also, and to me this is pretty importantly, an opportunity for them to face off and swing with wood bats, which to me it's always been strange that the NCAA doesn't use that across all levels. As he looks over to first base, Thomas, with nobody out and a runner on first for the Elks, delivers the 1-2. Outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Only some of the community colleges will allow people to use wood bats, but other than that, I mean, it's pretty strictly metal bats, which is a lot different. If you talk to some players, they feel there's a significant difference between swinging the two. A couple of guys in the Elks saying they're much more comfortable using wood bats. As the runner goes in the 2-2, there's a line drive into right field, but it is foul, and we'll have to do it again. So the opportunity to kind of get used to swinging with wood bats, which if you go pro is what you'd use, is a pretty big one out there too.
I think the main discrepancy is the reason the NCAA uses metal bats is mainly a safety concern. Broken bats are a huge safety hazard, and if they had that across all 1,000 of their schools, that would be a bit of a problem.
Here comes the 2-2. Ground ball chopped over to second base. They flip to second for 1. And over to first base. The stretch, it's not in time as Singer gets there safely at first. So the lead runner, Alvarez, is cut down, but Singer is now at first with 1 away. I also think that part of it is a cost thing, too. I mean, you break wood bats all the time. Metal bats don't get broken quite as frequently.
But wood bats often start off at a lower cost than do metal bats.
That's also true.
And once you get into the pros, most professionals aren't paying for their wood bats at all. They
have sponsors.
They sign a cheap contract with a wood bat company right out of the draft, and they actually get paid to use a certain company's bats.
Right, as is the case with much of their equipment. Runner on first for the Elks. They're down 3-0 against the Harbor Cats here in the home half of the third. Runner on first and 1 away. The pitch comes low and inside to Holton, who grounded out to third his last time up. And it's amazing how some players just hit better with wood bats. Supposedly it's more difficult to hit with a wood bat. It's harder to get power than it is with metal. Here comes the 1-0. That's called strike 1 on the outside corner. 1 ball and 1 strike.
The wood absorbs more of the momentum than does a metal bat.
Right.
If we're going, physics terms here.
But just aesthetically, the crack of a wood bat is much more pleasing than the ping that you get from a wood bat, Yeah. As Singer gets his lead from first base. Here's that 1-1. Line drive out towards center field. Malinchak going back. He's still going back, and he makes the catches. He was pretty close to falling down, backtracking. But no problem there for him. Singer gets back to first base in time. 2 away for the Elks, and Brett Arbach is coming up here next.
It was a well-struck ball by Holton, but ultimately just hit pretty close to the center fielder, Malinchak. It was dipping well. There wasn't too much air under the ball, and had Holton hit that into a gap, that was probably a double that rolls all the way to the wall. But just the way the direct placement it was hit, he was right on top of the ball, and it went straight into center field.
That's going to bring up Brett Arbach, who walked his last time. Batting from the right side, the catcher against the lefty pitcher. And the runner goes in the first pitch. It bounces past the catcher as Singer gets in safely with a stolen base. The second steal today for the Elks that was successful. And the second time, in fact, that they've stolen on what ended up being a wild pitch anyway. It seems like Jaco is just kind of getting ahead of himself trying to catch the runner stealing. He pops out of the crouch too quickly before he has the baseball, and it always just flies by him. So now the Elks have another runner in scoring position, looking for their first run of the ball game, down 3, and Arbach a chance to drive in a run. And the offering is in there for a strike, 1 ball and 1 strike to him. Arbach has driven in 2 runs so far today. He's got a couple of extra base hits already on the season for the Elks. Starting catcher for Saddleback. Each of the last 2 years, he was a first-teamer in his conference, and he'll be going to the University of Alabama. The 1-1 upstairs. 2 balls and 1 strike. Arbach, as we mentioned before, a lot of California guys here. Well, Arbach is another California guy, as is Singer, standing over at second base, make that. Thomas comes set. The lefty's 2-1 on the way. Is a called strike 2. Looked like a changeup that just landed into the zone. And now the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. In fact, the top 5 guys in the Elks order are all from the state of California. John Orndorfer breaks up that trend, coming from the state of Oregon as number 6 hitter. Blaring in is Thomas. He gets the sign. He is ready. The 2-2. Curveball and a beauty as that caught Brett Arbach napping for strike 3, and the Elks fail to score for the 3rd inning in a row. We're going to the top of the 4th. It's 3-0 Harbor Cats here on the Bend Elks Sports Network.
It'll be the 9-1-2 hitters to lead things off for the Elks in the home half of inning number 5. They now find themselves in double the deficit they found themselves in prior to this inning. It's 6-0 in the bottom of the 5th inning. Khalid Johnson, the first man tasked with turning things around for the Bend Elks. First offering from Thomas to Johnson. Fouled off down the right side. Count is 0-1. Johnson so far today 0 for 1 with a ground out. He's 2 for 16 on the season. The windup in the 1-0, should say the 0-1, fouled off into the screen in front of the first base side of the grandstand. Count now 0-2. The Elks were 1 strike away from getting out of things in the top half of this inning as Khalid Johnson strikes out swinging. He now 0 for 2 today. 7th strikeout of the day for Tyler Thomas. And we're just into the 5th inning. That brings up Tristan Alvarez. Alvarez has reached base both times that he's come to the plate for the Elks today. Doubled back in the 1st inning and walked in the 3rd. Tyler winds up and fires home. Swing and a miss by Alvarez on a pitch that was just off the outside corner. Count is 0-1 on the junior shortstop. Alvarez has been a consistent part of this Elks lineup, batting in that number 1 spot almost every game. As he fouls off the 0-1 back behind home plate. Count is 0-2.
Pretty rare that Alvarez swings at the first 2 pitches in that bat, much less the first one, but usually if he does that, he watches the second one go.
And now he finds himself down 0-2 as he fouled off both of those pitches. I should say swung and missed at the first one, fouled off the second one. The windup and the delivery, swing and a miss. Alvarez, second straight strikeout victim. 6 pitches, 2 outs for Tyler Thomas. He's yet to miss the strike zone in this inning. This is the same guy that walked 55 batters for Baylor this past season in 53 innings pitched.
In all fairness to him, he also did strike out 59 batters. So he's got good strikeout stuff, but usually it comes along with control issues, and today he's been fantastic in terms of that. He's only walked 2 guys today.
First offering to Jake Holton misses low. That's the first ball thrown after a run of 6 strikes in a row from Tyler Thomas. He winds and delivers the 1-0. It misses outside. Count is 2-0. Tyler Thomas, a perfect game underclassman All-American in high school. And he pitched well to that billing for Baylor this past year as Holton flies the 2-2 offering into right field. Fag settles under it and makes the catch for out number 3. The Elks go down in order. They don't score. We head to the top of the 6th inning. It's Harbor Cats 6, Elks 0. You're listening to the Ben Delks Sports Network.
On the way, the 2-2 to man. Line drive, it's actually a ground ball rolled over to second base, and Wally has it. He flips it over to first base in time, and the Harbor Cats seal a 6-0 victory over the Elks here in Game 1 of this 3-game stand between these two squads. The Elks going scoreless. They put together a couple of rallies, but they only put up 5 hits on the board in total, and they failed to score a run against the Harbor Cats pitching staff, which was tremendous today. Tyler Thomas gets the win. He throws 5 scoreless innings, striking out 8 and walking just 2. Humphreys, Potter, and Ho had the rest in relief. 4 innings of relief work, and it was no problem for them as they shut out the Elks.